Okay, there's nothing wrong with a strong Sigma male. However, some men who identify as Sigmas may simply have a very specific attachment style. Now, we've all heard the term Sigma thrown around a lot lately. You know, the lone wolf or solo cougarette who walks his own path, an independent rebel who doesn't need validation from anyone, but especially not women. Well, it sounds like a pretty solid guy, right? Or does it? Now, here's the thing, fellas. Are you really a Sigma male or are you actually insecurely attached? If you're new to my channel, my name is Anna Jorgensen. I help good men like you decode modern women so you can find, attract, and keep your keeper, or simply have better relationships with women if you prefer to stay single. Welcome to Just the Tip. Before we dive into which attachment style is most common for Sigmas, let's break down the myth of the Sigma male and why you might relate to it, and then we'll do a quick review of attachment theory for those who are unfamiliar with it. Now, what is a Sigma male? A Sigma male is often the guy who doesn't play by society's rules. He's a mix of alpha confidence and beta chill. He can be seen as aloof, generally prefers solitude, doesn't follow trends, and does not chase women, or anyone else for that matter. Now, Sigma males thrive in their own company, valuing self-sufficiency and rejecting the conventional hierarchy. It's basically a cool way of saying, this world is dysfunctional, but I'm making my own way in it. Sigmas sound badass, right? Well, they are. Maybe you see yourself in this. You're a man who enjoys your alone time, doesn't need constant attention from women, and maybe prefer an occasional fling over something serious if the latter requires too much work or infringes on your freedom. Any of you raising your hand out there? Okay, however, here's the plot twist. There's a sneaky little thing called dismissive avoidant attachment, and it's possible what you think is Sigma energy might actually be you avoiding deep emotional connections because you fear emotional vulnerability and its risks. Well, any hands still up? Let's do a quick review of attachment theory. So in summary, the bonds we form in early childhood with our parents or caregivers shape our emotional relationships throughout our life. There are several great books on attachment theory that identify 4 primary attachment styles. Now, they may have different names, but these are the essentials. Secure. People who feel safe and comfortable with intimacy and trust others, can depend on others, and are open to emotional closeness. What? Really? These people exist? Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Believe it or not, these people actually account for about 50 to 60% of the population. It just may not feel like it because many of them are already in committed relationships. 2. Anxious, preoccupied, often called clingy. These folks crave closeness but often fear abandonment, and they can be overly dependent on relationships and worry about their mate's love and commitment. They make up about 20% of the population and are less often single than the next attachment style because they don't let go of their relationships very easily, even when they should. 3. Avoidant dismissive. As noted, avoidantly attached people tend to avoid emotional intimacy. They value independence and feel uncomfortable with closeness. These folks account for about 25% of the population, and many are single, including maybe some Sigmas. Number 4, disorganized or fearful avoidant, which is a mix of both anxious and avoidant traits. These individuals may desire connection, love me, but fear getting hurt. I feel suffocated, leading to inconsistent behavior in relationships. They have often had significant trauma and make up about 5 to 10% of us. Key point, even if you had what you consider good parents, if they were too permissive or easygoing or inattentive, you may have an insecure attachment style. Now, even though your parents or primary caregivers were probably doing the best they could with what they knew at the time, your early experiences, especially with caregivers, shape how you connect with others. The good news is, through self-awareness and healthy relationship experiences, your attachment style can change if it's no longer serving you. So let's take a closer look at the attachment style most Sigma males can relate to. to. Dismissive avoidant attachment, the hidden side of the Sigma male. Avoidant attachment happens when you keep emotional intimacy at arm's length. Maybe you had a parent or early life experience where showing vulnerability was met with rejection or neglect. So you learn to shut down your feelings to protect yourself. Totally legit. But now, as a grown man, maybe that habit has taken the form of, I don't need anyone. Does that sound familiar? In relationships, avoidantly attached men and women often, 1, prefer casual, no strings attached encounters, 2, find themselves feeling suffocated when things get emotional, 3, may ghost a potential mate when things get too close. 4, avoid commitment like it's a Black Friday sale at Walmart. Now, if that sounds like you, there's a good chance the lone wolf identity is a defense mechanism and not an enlightened level of stoic manhood. Sorry. And that, my friend, is what makes the difference between a true Sigma and someone who's actually avoidantly attached. It's worth noting, not all Sigmas are necessarily dismissive or avoidant in a dysfunctional way. A secure attachment style can also align with the Sigma identity if their independence and preference for solitude are rooted in confidence and emotional balance rather than solely fear of intimacy. The key difference is that securely attached Sigmas can handle closeness without feeling threatened, while those with dismissive avoidant attachment fear emotional intimacy. Let's look at Sigma versus avoidant key differences. Independence versus fear of dependence. Sigma males are genuinely independent. They're comfortable with themselves and with emotional connections. They simply choose solitude. Avoidantly attached guys, well, they're independent because they fear dependence. They're terrified that if they get too close to someone, they'll either get hurt or lose their sense of self. Sigma example, staying single by choice. So James is a software engineer who genuinely enjoys his solitude. He's built a comfortable life, has a few close friends, and doesn't feel the need to date or be in a relationship. He values independence, not out of fear, but because he thrives on self-sufficiency. When a woman shows interest in him, he's respectful, but makes it clear he's happy being single. Okay, avoidant example, wants love but is afraid. Mike, on the other hand, tells himself he's fine being single, but secretly craves love and intimacy. Whenever a woman gets close, he pulls away, fearing that letting his guard down will lose his independence or he'll get hurt. His independence is a shield against vulnerability. Now, can you relate to one of these two situations? If you can, share your thoughts in the comments. 2, freedom versus emotional unavailability. Sigma males thrive on their freedom, but they can still engage in meaningful relationships if they want to. Avoidantly attached men confuse freedom with emotional unavailability. They push people away and avoid intimacy because they're not sure how to handle being vulnerable. Key point, vulnerability isn't about weakness. It's also rooted in loving someone and allowing them to know the real you. Now that takes courage. Sigma example, actively dating but enjoys freedom. So Ethan enjoys his freedom but also enjoys dating. He's currently seeing a woman casually, but there's no pressure on either side to lock things down. He's upfront about his priorities, values his alone time, and makes it clear he's not looking for anything too serious right now. That said, if the right woman came along, he wouldn't mind adjusting his lifestyle to include her. Avoidant example, confusing freedom with emotional unavailability. Matt is dating too, but he tends to keep things surface level. He tells himself and others he values his freedom, but in reality, he uses his need for freedom as an excuse to keep emotional distance, not wanting anyone to see his vulnerable side. How about these two situations? Did either one sound like you? Comment. Number 3, choice versus avoidance. Sigma males choose to be solitary, but they can still have fulfilling, deep relationships when they meet the right woman. Avoidantly attached men steer clear of emotional intimacy at all costs and tend to self-sabotage when things start to get real. Sigma example, in a relationship by choice. Liam is in a committed relationship but maintains his Sigma independence. He and his girlfriend Genevieve have a mutual understanding of space and boundaries. Their relationship thrives because they respect each other's autonomy. Liam could be single if he wanted to, but he chooses to stay with her because he enjoys the depth and connection without feeling trapped. Avoidant example. Self-sabotages when things get too real. Now, Nick has been dating someone he really likes, but as soon as things start to get serious, he finds himself picking silly fights or creating distance. The thought of being trapped in emotional closeness freaks him out, and even though he desires love deep down, he sabotages the relationship out of fear. Now, what about these two? Can you relate to either of these? If so, which one? Comment. Okay, so how to know if you're actually avoidant dismissive. Let's figure out if you're truly Sigma or if avoidant attachment is running the show. Here are a few signs to look for. Do you, 1, feel uneasy when a woman expresses strong emotions or desires emotional closeness? 2, avoid discussing your feelings or even acknowledging them, especially in romantic relationships. 3, feel trapped when a relationship starts getting serious. 4, rationalize being single or that keeping things casual is better than getting hurt. If you're nodding along to any of these, it might be time to reevaluate. That avoidance isn't a badge of honor. It's a block to having the love and intimacy that deep down you want but don't know how to handle. Key point. Love is the biggest risk of all because even if you find your soulmate, at some point one of you is going to die. And when you truly love someone, it can be painful to realize you might die first and leave them suffering in heartbreak. To me, the purest form of love is wanting to outlive your loved one to save them from suffering your loss. If you're brave enough to want love, life's biggest risk, here's what you can do about insecure attachment. Having an insecure attachment, like being avoidant dismissive, isn't a permanent sentence. Recognizing the pattern is the first step to change. Now that you've done that, it's about working on opening up, slowly at your own pace, but intentionally. Now here's how to get started. 1, acknowledge your feelings. Yes, it sounds basic, but if you've been avoiding emotions for years, this will feel like lifting a ton of emotional weight. Start by paying attention to what makes you feel uncomfortable in relationships. 2, challenge your thoughts. That little voice telling you, I don't need anyone, that's fear talking. Start questioning whether your need for independence is actually shielding you from healthy vulnerability. 3, take baby steps. You don't need to dive into the deep end of the emotional relationship pool. Not right away. Practice opening up in small ways, maybe with safe friends or family, before diving deeper with a romantic partner. 4, consider therapy. A good therapist can help you unpack why you've built the walls around you and give you the tools to break them down in a healthy way. Plus, therapy is a great place to practice vulnerability. If you're in the US of A, there's only one online company I currently recommend that's fair to men, and I will put a link in the show notes for that company. There's also a discount for my viewers. Now, what if some of this sounds familiar, but not completely? Let's look at the Sigma avoidant crossover. So to be fair, there is some overlap between Sigma males and females and avoidantly attached people. Both value their space and don't feel the need to prove themselves in relationships. However, the key difference lies in the why. If you're a Sigma, your independence comes from a place of strength and confidence. If you're avoidant, it comes from a place of fear of intimacy and vulnerability. Knowing the difference can be the game changer you need to determine between walking alone by choice or being emotionally stuck on repeat. There's nothing wrong with staying single if that's truly what makes you happy. I've said many times, better single than sorry. But if you're lonely and longing or overly bitter about women, it may be that deep down you long for love. So after watching this, what do you think? Are you a true Sigma male or are you actually avoidantly attached? There's no shame in wherever you're at. However, if you have been hiding behind the lone wolf label to avoid getting hurt, it's worth taking a deeper look at why you're running from intimacy. At the end of the day, independence is cool, but genuine connection, wherever you find it, that's where the real strength lies. And you'll definitely want to know the difference between Sigmas and Alphas. So watch that video coming up next, or it might be in the pinned comment and show notes. Thanks so much for being here. Sending you so much love, my fellow Sigmas. God bless.